So maybe we'll just start with a brief introduction round. We'll start over here.
Hello, my name is Selina. I am from Oslo, 21 years old. I come from Plott, Oslo, where I are in chief of the social media.
Yeah, hello, my name is Jos. I am from Denmark, from Copenhagen, from the Theater Candidates, and I'm a performing artist and 21 years old.
Cool. My name is Asta Herta, and I'm from Copenhagen as well. And I am a part of this Theater Kandidaterne, where I'm a director and a theater leader as well. That's me.
Hi, I'm Maria Vasquez. I'm 24 years old and I'm one of the 24 Mas in Young Hands volunteers at the Mas Museum in Antwerp. We try to lower the threshold in the museum by organizing fun activities for the youth.
Good evening. My name is Edvard. I'm 20 years old. I grew up at Nesodden, which is just outside Oslo. And like Celine, I'm also from Plott, Oslo.
I'm still Danby, the editor of Subjekt, part moderating with Kamara today. I would like to ask you first about what is Plott? Could you explain what Plott is, briefly?
Well, Plott Oslo is, we like to call it an art club for young people.
Which age group?
15 to 25 years old. So it's an initiative for getting young people more interested in contemporary art, making kind of a low-scale first experience to we're curating a program with events like artist talks and exhibition, guided tours, workshops.
Thank you. And Mas in Young Hands, how does that work actually?
Well, we are with about 24 youngsters who organize activities in the museum. It can go from nocturnes, vernissages, and we have once a year a big masked party in the museum where 2,500 youngsters come to party in our museum, and we try also to trigger them to visit the collection of the museum.
Okay, yeah. And Theater Kandidaterne is a platform where young people are able to express themselves and sharing their ideas. And then it's a platform that's making a place for young people as well.
And all of you here are representatives for these kind of projects under the institutions, yeah? Are you working with it, do you feel, or just attending, or are you attending the clubs, or do you feel like you are working with it? You are in the council for the Plott, I know. Do you feel like it's work?
First of all, I would just say that Plott Oslo is a result of a collaboration between Astrid Fearnley Museum of Contemporary Art and Kunstnernes Hus, and the Museum of Contemporary Art that's a part of the National Museum. Plott Oslo is organized, you have people like me and Celine, voting, we have this kind of democratic process where we make, the program, but it's definitely based on, what the institutions tell us that's possible.
Are you all volunteering for this?
Yes.
It also means that no one gets paid.
That's correct.
Okay, so this is our young professionals panel. Yes, we've talked a little about this. It's about what defines actually a professional young group working with a project like this to actually get more young people to come. You are more than just club members. You are not there to only attend free museum vernissages or get free kava at the openings, or you're actually working with it as well. Are you okay with volunteering with this? Maybe Asta, is it a heartfelt project, or do you? Yeah.
Yes, it is definitely, but I'm okay with it because I think it's important that it's voluntary, because otherwise it wouldn't be something I really burn for. And I think if you start to put money in it, then you have some expectations that will broke all my opportunity to just trying to try something. Not then there's more fear in when I'm building up projects and plays. Then there is just my heart and my message as well. So I think it's really important that it's voluntary, and not that I can't do it like with any money. I'm fundraising right now because I've been writing a lot of fundraising funder. What do you say, funder? Yeah.
Applications.
Yeah, exactly. So I think it's really important right now that we should like broke up with the system of fundraising, because that's too many money at the established artist play or artist places.
Institutions.
So I would like to see more money in the subculture actually. Because it develop actually our society as well, because we are Christian and we do not have a investment as well. So
How do you define a young professional, Edvard?
Well, that can be a quite hard question, I think.
In the culture field?
Well, I think a young professional is a young person working in the culture field that's taking their responsibilities and their work seriously. You know?
Mm-hmm. Good. And also you are working with getting more people to visit the museums. I think as we've talked a lot about engagement of young people in the museums, etc. I think it's time maybe, after a few years of actually practicing this, that institutions should think of not only including them in clubs like this, but also really symbolic, or try to hire new talents in culture, and like if you are members of councils or things like this, if you are trying to use young professionals, I mean, and if you want to develop young professionals, what is in the professional begrepp term? I think culture institutions really should think of that.
I think it's an important debate to have. I remember when I started working as a young professional, professional in the sense that it was what I did full time, but not professional in the sense that I was getting paid to do it. It was not my paid profession. I worked at the interior shop, Kid Interior. But I remember working within the institutions. One of the expectations that you meet when you are a young person coming in to help the institution engage new audience is that you're supposed to bring your friends. That's the idea. You're supposed to have friends, and then you're supposed to bring them. But also in smaller projects, like if you needed a poster or something, you didn't necessarily have the PR or marketing department at your disposal for these small projects. So it would be very nice if you could ask one of your friends to do it. And then it would be hip and young and fresh. And the idea about that, which I always found very confusing and upsetting, is that you have what we call vennetjeneste in Norway, you know, the friend favor, which I could ask a friend of mine to do something graphic for free as a friend favor if I was doing something graphic for one of my own projects. but using a friend favor on behalf of an institution always felt very weird. And it would always put me in the position of asking on behalf of something much, much bigger than me to ask somebody else to do free work as I was doing, and still calling it, professional, or it's exposure, or it's a really good opportunity to get them to know you. And that's how the conversations went. And I think for young people getting up in the art world, it's important to address, when do you become a professional? Like, when does that happen? Barring a master's degree or something that's formalized, I don't have any formalized education, when can you say I am doing this professionally, and not just because I'm young, but because I'm competent?
And as it's more and more important to include young people, and we see more and more doing it, yeah, we're just discussing the professionals term. Further on the program, we're about to sum up.
Yes, but question to the group. Now that we've had 2 days here, and you've been observing, do you recognize yourself in the, like, I discovered I'm a millennial, so I'm struggling with that still, but do you guys recognize yourself in the terms, in the segments, in the generation that these people are trying to reach? Is it you?
Yeah, I do believe that I see myself in these topics that we've talked about, and especially in the culture segments. I think it's really nice that you guys are beginning to get an understanding of that we're not just a generation, but we're also different kind of people. That is really like it's nice to be recognized that way. Yeah, I do.
I think it is a little difficult to recognize myself because, first of all, I haven't really understood a lot of the things that have been said during the conference because of the terminology and of a lot of statistics and a lot of numbers. So I think it was very fun to see the Sphinx's presentation, because she talked a lot about the people as people and not so much about the numbers. And as well, the producer of Scum, who as well had a presentation, and he said that the way that they found their target was to go in the groups of the targets, go to Snapchat, what does a 16-year-old girl do on Instagram? And I think that was very cool, because then I feel like, okay, he like screwed the numbers a little bit, screw all the statistics. It's like we're humans and we're not so difficult, I can say. So I think that was very nice to see. Yeah.
Well, I recognize myself sometimes, but one thing I really miss is like the discussion about why are we so curious about this target group, all these young people. Like, is for the money? Okay, then I'm really sorry. Is it for being kind of with the beat, you say, or is being the smartest at the market, or why? I just need you to be, because when you know that, then it'd be more clear for us to include ourselves, because then we see, okay, they actually have a plan with us. It's not just to be smart. So that's something you should think about, maybe. The other thing is, like, I really recognize myself in this whole making a whole experience thing, because we are really trying to develop this theater, not only being theater, but also being a whole experience with putting the theater in the urban space, because people are expecting not only culture, but a experience where they can share their feelings and their reflections. So think about not only make art, but make a experience they can go home and think about, and think that it's important then. There is art in our world.
And Maria, I would just like to ask you, because we were at the same breakout session earlier, and you at least recognized your institution in the segmentation and when they were talking about audience development. Do you identify with your institution? When you recognize your institution, do you recognize yourself a bit?
Yeah, definitely. At 2 points, like reaching the young people, but also reaching a diverse public, because I myself am someone with a migration background, and our museum does a lot for newcomers in Antwerp, in Belgium. So yeah, it's totally, and sometimes I really forget that's not easy to do that for a museum, or that everyone does that. So I'm really glad to be a part of a museum that does do that thing. So yeah, that's it.
After what I know, I think Plot Oslo is a bit inspired by Maas in Young Hands. No?
Well, I think there's definitely a connection here, and this is very interesting, because what have happened is, you know, they have some institutions have started their, you know, projects like Young and blah blah blah, or you know, like Plot Oslo, and at least I know Plot Oslo was, when it first started, it was after. It was inspired by something in Amsterdam called Blikopnes, which probably some of you know. So they started like many years ago, and they have really come far, I think, because they made this kind of council member thing into a real professional part-time job. That's paid, and they're doing great, you know, they're escalating. So, and this is very important. I'm extremely confident that if you institutions want to reach young audiences, you need to look at the research and combine it with actually talking and involving young people, like us, like Maas in Young Hands are doing, like Plot Oslo is doing. But, you know, to really pay attention and to, you know, if you really want to satse,
Invest, yeah.
if you really want to invest, you know, when you're starting to pay, I really see you really have a point, but I also think that if you want to escalate, you know, the young audience, if you're starting to paying people like us, you know, Oslo is an expensive city to live. You need to pay the bills. If I could pay, if I can use more of my time, you know, more of my energy to work and make this bigger, make it better. So my message is to the institutions is to take your, you know, responsibility. And my message to the government and Art Council is fund these things. And yeah.
Very good.
We need something happening in Norway. We call it kunstformidling. We're lying behind. If we look at Europe, they are far ahead of us. So yeah, that's my message.
That's a good message. And besides getting paid and getting more funding and just like really getting ahead of the curve on this youth engagement, what are your hopes and dreams for the future? Like, how do you see this art sector developing? We saw Anne Boysen's dystopian future earlier today, which is the generation after you guys. But what are your hopes and dreams for the future? Which direction would you like to see these people take next?
I would just like to start to say that I hope it's not that sad as we saw this morning. And I don't think it is that sad, and I think that people as well need to change a little their attitude towards our generation, and that we are much more than people looking down to our cell phones. and that we are actually a bunch of creative. We are creating a lot of things. These two are creating something really good in Copenhagen, and so yeah, I think if you put your energy on us, and if you like, it's very good that we are here as well, because you are targeting to young audiences, and we are almost only young people here today. So I think it's important that we are included. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I hope that that you'll just take chances when I speak from a perspective that is theater in Denmark, and especially in Copenhagen. And the biggest play that focuses on young people today in Copenhagen is a theater version of Skam, which we saw, and we love Skam and think it's fantastic, but we don't love the theater version because it does not take a chance. It focuses on pleasing the audience, and also just kind of tries to milk the success and just try to get some money out of the young people. My hopes are that we can like try not to focus on the money and try to take more chances.
Take a chance on you guys. Yeah.
Yeah. So, what do you think? So, you're all young professionals. You work with actually audience engagement for this target group, as well as you are the target group in many ways. How do you think your work is actually working towards young audience engagement and development?
Yeah, I don't understand the question.
Okay, so you work with audience development. How do you actually, for the culture institutions that does not have Plot Oslo, Mads in Young Hands, and Teaterkandidaternes works, how do they reach out to you, and what do they tell you to help them with?
Sorry, I do not still understand the question.
It was a hard question.
If you do,
Yeah?
Do you think that your work with young audiences has an impact on young audiences? Do you actually reach out to them? Is that your question? That's my question.
Yeah, it was my question. It was my question. Yeah?
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. It depends which expectation you have, but in our situation, we do have a whole, for every time we are making a play, there is sold out, so that must be a success. And then we also creating this platform where people actually asking for when are you going to make a new play again, because it's really funny to see your perspective of this whole society. So because they kind of feel a connection to us, they so yeah, I feel actually that.
Can I say something? Yeah. So what we're doing here with like making urban theater for young people is also like trying to get young people to understand that theater can be more than just going into these big institutions where there's a lot of expectations on your on how you behave, for example, or which kind of people goes to the theater. If you don't want to be associated with that, you can also like come and see our show, which is something else than the normal, and maybe it can open up for you trying to go to one of the big institutions as well. Yeah.
Can I say something as well? I think we actually really reach out to the young audience because we have our fantastic social media tools. That when we have an event, we live stream from there. So the people that like the young people yesterday talked about that, we are the strongest reference to our friends. And when they see us that are young and could be their friend, I think as well we are putting down the limit for visiting these things, and that we show them that this is fun, this is social. A lot of people come alone, and I think absolutely we reach out to our targeting group.
What is your goal with Mads in Young Hands, or working with that?
Well, yeah, it's we reach our group, but it's not always a success, and sometimes it's difficult. But yeah, I think that's in. I speak for a museum institution, so but we do try to make activities, and sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. But in general, yeah.
But please tell more about the concept that you have this party once a year, which is for, which was visited by 2,500 people over many floors. You said earlier to me that you had a DJ there. So how do you? Why is this event so popular?
Because yeah, I think it was the 6th year we did this. So every year it becomes bigger and bigger, and because we have our crew, we promote, we make word of mouth.
Word of mouth.
Word of mouth, yeah, marketing and etc. And we post on Facebook, we Snapchat about it, we do everything, and we also try to promote our collection also by doing something in the exhibition room that can be a little concert, very intimate, very emotional. So we try to put that extra in it, but also to invite young people and just enjoy. And maybe it's not always, how do we explain it? It doesn't always have to be a success, but it just puts your institution on the map, and it's just like a reminder, like, oh yes, there is a museum there, and maybe they will come next time to visit your collection more and bring more time to it. And I don't know.
Edvard, why did you engage yourself in Plot Oslo?
I just came across Plot Oslo on social media, and I thought, well, this is perfect.
Why is it perfect?
Because it's a way into contemporary art, you know, and the point is, you know, just making events that's exciting and engaging. And you know, as many of you know, the problem with contemporary art is it can be very intellectual. It can be feel like kind of a school setting, you know, and that's how many people think of museums, because they went to it this one time with their class. So I think Plot Oslo is so interesting because the project is kind of transforming, you know, this experience of contemporary art and the art museum.
You guys, that was our time. Thank you so much.
Maybe we can make one question from the audience.
One question from the audience. One very important question, like the most important question. No, I'm just kidding. Yes, do you want to have let's give her the microphone.
Mine was actually just a comment, but my comment was that myself, my name is Matilde, I work as head of marketing at Astrup Fearnley Museum. I started out when I was a teenager myself in the version before Plot Oslo. It was called UKAF, together with you, Dambi. And then today I work as a professional. So for us, it's a very important part of Plot Oslo that it's something that can recruit a new generation, and also having people at the office that came like the same route that you guys. I think it's very important. So I hope that that'll happen for you guys as well.
Okay, and thank you so much for your time and insight.